With the buyout market likely to be a flop, 2022 free agency becomes the next important transactional milestone in the NBA calendar. Every team's position is unique, but taxpayers and cap space holders will have decisions to make over the summer. Let's get into it. But first, a reminder about our brand new giveaway. We're giving away a PS5 with a copy of NBA 2K22 and Madden 22. All you have to do is watch the full video, leave a like, comment the keyword hidden in the video, and make sure you're subscribed. It's that simple. First up, we have Atlanta Hawks. Though it isn't exactly a free agent problem, Danilo Gallinari's partially guaranteed contract for 2022-23 will be one of the Atlanta Hawks' key worries this offseason. Atlanta can release the 33-year-old forward before June 29th and only owe him $5 million for next season. If he's kept after the deadline, the Hawks will be liable for $21.5 million. Atlanta expects to go over the cap but under the tax, and a $21.5 million deal expiring for a scorer who can still put the ball in the hoop isn't the worst asset to have on hand. Gallo will most likely remain with the Hawks. They may find more takers by the 2023 trade deadline than they had in February, and releasing him would not free up much cap room. Next, Boston Celtics. Sam Hauser isn't exactly a household name, but the 24-year-old sharpshooter is the biggest free agent unknown on the Boston Celtics squad that already appears to be set for 2022-23. Boston's top 10 players have all agreed to new contracts for the next season. Al Horford's deal contains a partial guarantee, but the Celtics have until January 10th to make a choice. Their $1.5 million team option on Hauser is a more pressing worry. Hauser spent time between Marquette and Virginia, never shooting worse than 40.2% from deep in either of his undergraduate seasons. Now, we have Brooklyn Nets. Despite his untrustworthy reputation and continuous unavailability, he averaged only 58 games a season previous to this year's vaccine mandate incident. Opting out appears to be Irving's obvious decision. He's 29 years old and still one of the game's most potent attacking weapons. The $36.7 million he could earn by picking up the option for 2022-23 seems appealing, but Irving, faults and all, will most likely be able to receive at least one more guaranteed year and an option in a lower-risk 1+1 contract. The real question is if the Nets want to keep the Kyrie experience going. It's been distinguished by unpredictable absences and controversy thus far, and it may have cost the Rockets James Harden. You have to wonder if some of Brooklyn's brass is hoping Irving opts out and walks. Up next, Charlotte Hornets. Miles Bridges was allegedly not signed for 4 years and $60 million before the 2021-22 season, and now the Charlotte Hornets forward might command considerably more in restricted free agency. The Hornets are at a position in its growth curve where it should not be allowing homegrown talent to go, and Bridges' breakout season deserves a deal worth more than what the team gave in October. However, if the Hornets commit to keeping Bridges at his projected market salary by signing him outright or matching an offer sheet, they'll be going ahead with a large portion of their cap space reserve. Next, we have Chicago Bulls. Zach LaVine has certain expectations for his next deal, and while he didn't officially state a max or nothing ultimatum in his remarks to Yahoo Sports' Vincent Goodwill, it appears that's where his mind is. This isn't about whether or not Chicago should want LaVine back. The only sticking points will be years and money, with LaVine rightfully believing he is worth more than $200 million over 5 seasons. Few teams have the cap room to commit to 4 years and $160 million, so the Bulls may not have to pay every last penny to keep their hyper-efficient wing for another half-decade. Up next, Cleveland Cavaliers. Colin Sexton hoped for a contract in the $100 million area, but was willing to accept a rookie-scale agreement for less during preseason discussions. After missing most of the season due to a torn meniscus and seeing the Cleveland Cavaliers soar into the postseason picture without him, Sexton should be prepared for discussions to begin with painfully low figures. Cleveland has the ability to match whatever offer Sexton receives elsewhere, and there is plenty of proof that the organization functions very well without him. Now, we have Dallas Mavericks. It's becoming increasingly difficult to discount Jalen Brunson's importance to the Dallas Mavericks, a fact that must excite the guard and his camp as he approaches unrestricted free agency. Dallas is 26-12 since Brunson became a regular starter on December 12th. While his chemistry with Luka Doncic is crucial, Brunson has also led units without his superstar colleagues to a plus 4.0 net rating. If the Mavericks offer Brunson the 4-year $80 million deal he's allegedly seeking, they'll be taxpayers for the first time in a decade in 2022-23. Next is Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets have never had a player like Bryn Forbes, according to at least one metric. The sample size isn't great, but he's the first player in team history to shoot at least 45% from deep on more than 4 tries per game. The Nuggets should try to keep the experienced unrestricted free agent, but as taxpayers with limited resources, they shouldn't spend more than Forbes' $4.5 million salary this year. Next up, Detroit Pistons. This summer, the Detroit Pistons are expected to have more cap room than anybody else. With no significant in-house free agents, the Pistons may shift their focus to the restricted market in the hopes of stealing someone else's potential talent. Detroit may have to overpay, but there will be times when this is justified. Miles Bridges appears to be a natural match, but the Pistons can also make the Phoenix Suns and the Portland Trail Blazers sweat on DeAndre Ayton and Anthony Simmons. Now, we have Golden State Warriors. In an ideal world, James Wiseman would return later this season and perform well enough to persuade the Golden State Warriors that he can be a top-tier starter in the future. That would at least soften the blow of Kevin Looney's unrestricted free agency. Looney has struggled through many hip surgeries during his career, displaying a degree of tenacity and devotion that has won him the admiration of teammates and fans alike. He started every game this season, and his awareness of how to play inside Golden State's movement-heavy system makes him more vital than his 6.4 point and 7.6 rebound averages would imply. Up next, Houston Rockets. John Wall will not decline his contract's player option unless something really unexpected happens. Giving up $47.3 million to enter free agency after a year on the sidelines appears to be a poor decision. Other free agent worries for the Houston Rockets are limited. Jason Tate, team option, Garrison Matthews, non-guarantee, and KJ Martin, non-guarantee, may all be retained for $2 million or less in pay in 2022-23, making them simple to keep. And now, Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers nucleus became a little younger after trading Domantas Sabonis, 25, for Tyrese Halliburton, 22. But don't expect a multi-season makeover to result. Indy hasn't plummeted in decades, and this reversal feels like a one-season blip. That's why we cannot rule out the Pacers' interest in re-signing TJ Warren. Next up, Los Angeles Clippers. The Los Angeles Clippers have apparent keepers in Nicholas Batum, player option, and Ivica Zubac, club option. The former re-upped last summer on a 2-year, $6.5 million contract that appeared way below his market worth, and he has played well enough to merit a raise when he opts out. The Clippers adore rangy wings who can switch, shoot, and pass, and they have no qualms with paying the tax. So retaining Batum won't be a difficult decision. Zubac is even simpler. He's outperforming his $7.5 million salary this year and will do it again in 2022-23. Now, we have the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers can quell speculation that LeBron James may leave them for a third stint with the Cavaliers by securing a 2-year, $97 million agreement for the 4-time champion. That would push free agency further down the road, potentially bringing some consistency to a team that has been lacking it this season. Next, Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis's cap space is intriguing. They're easily the greatest of the six, with enough room to give more than a mid-level exception. That money would be gone if the Grizzlies re-signed Kyle Anderson and Tyus Jones, but there's also a chance neither of those two returns and the Grizzlies have a $16 to $18 million to play with, according to The Athletic's Danny LaRue. And now, we have Miami Heat. The Miami Heat's scouting and player development operations remain among the finest in the league, so the organization might be forgiven for assuming it can easily locate the next Caleb Martin for a far lesser price than it could take to maintain the current one. However, in the case of a bidding war for Martin in restricted free agency, the Heat must decide how much they're ready to spend. Martin, who has signed a 2-way contract before the season and converted to a normal contract in February, has been a great acquisition for the Heat. Next, Milwaukee Bucks. After letting PJ Tucker leave last summer only to watch him succeed with rival Heat, you'd think the Bucks would want to avoid seeming as frugal this time around. However, if the team option combination of Bobby Portis and Pat Connaughton opt out in quest of a new contract, Milwaukee's willingness to spend will be tested once more. Lastly, New York Knicks. Mitchell Robinson simplifies this exercise. Robinson is a one-of-a-kind finisher who dominates the offensive boards and blocks shots at an outstanding rate. These are admirable attributes, and they help to explain why the 23-year-old has been a consistent starter when healthy over the previous 2 seasons. That's a wrap for this video. We'll see you in the next one.